Welcome to my kitchen. Welcome to the Friday Night Curry Club. I hope everybody's good. I hope you're all well. I hope everyone's had a really good week and you are looking forward to the long, well, not really a long weekend, but looking forward to the weekend. As always, we're going to sort of just have a little chat, just wait for a few people to join us and everyone sort of get on board and get ready, because I know there's a few of you who are cooking. A few of you have already sent messages and I know that some of you are super excited about today's dish, which is amazing and I'm really pleased about it. As always, please do take lots of pictures as you go through the process. It's really nice to see them afterwards when you post them and just share your experience with me. So first of all, welcome everybody, and I hope you've got a little drinky. I have today, so I've got a little glass of Prosecco. It was Prosecco Day, for those of you who don't know, and I just put a little post out yesterday saying that it's one of my favourite drinks to drink with a curry because of the bubbles, sweetness. It just works really, really nicely. And I know there's a few people out there. Joni, I'm looking at you. I know you're with me on that. So welcome everybody. Have we got some hellos coming in? If you've just joined, please let me know that you're watching. Please let me know where you're watching from and let me know if you're cooking with me or just watching today and then you're going to go away and do it possibly over the weekend. I know a few of you are. I need to say, get better to Ali from Australia, who normally joins us. She sent a message to say she's not feeling very well, so she's gone back to bed. But this is a little get well message for you because I'm sure you'll be watching at a later date. So get well, Ali. Hope you're feeling all right. Okay, how are we doing?
Got Lorraine, who's very excited. She says she's got tamarind paste today.
Hello Lorraine, I know you're all about the tamarind and you've got your paste and you're very excited. I'll be talking you through all there is to know, or all that my head has in it about tamarind, so I'll talk you through all of that later.
We've got someone from Reigate.
Hello, who's that from Reigate?
That's not a name.
Are we going to say hello?
DN Murphy.
DN Murphy from Reigate, welcome, just down the road from me. Lovely to have you join. Are you cooking or are you just watching? Let me know. Who else?
Melody Dixon is watching from Jackson, Tennessee. She says she spent several years in India and loves learning how to make some of her favourites.
Who was that, sorry?
Melody.
Melody from Jacksonville. Hello. Jackson, Tennessee, welcome. So you spent a lot of time in India, amazing. You've probably got a little bit of knowledge that you can share with us, so please do pipe up anytime you think that you've got something to share or something that anybody else will want to hear. So please do. Welcome.
Wendy in Montreal, cooking on the weekend.
Hi Wendy in Montreal. So you're going to be cooking over the weekend. This is a really, really lovely dish, so I hope you enjoy it.
We've got...
Who else have we got?
DN Murphy's just watching today. Eric watching today, cooking tomorrow in Madrid. Wendy.
Hi Eric from Madrid, cooking tomorrow, so take notes. You can come back to the video and watch later.
We've got Ash Kirsch, who's
Hi Ash, first timer, welcome, lovely to have you join us. Please do tell your friends and family to get joining us on a Friday night because the more the merrier. So lovely to have all you new faces, new names joining us. Thank you, welcome, and I hope you come back. Who else have we got?
We've got Nina is back in cooking. Anders from Sweden.
Anders from Sweden, hello, how are you doing? And we've got Nina who's cooking. Yes. Brilliant, lovely, loving it, loving it, loving it, loving it.
We've got Adriana in Mexico.
Adriana in Mexico, amazing,
Lois.
Amazing, lovely
Lois
to have you join us.
Australia.
Hi Lois,
And
back
we've
again.
Also got Lois in Michigan.
We've got another Lois in Michigan, hello. Welcome, lovely to have you all join us. Thank you so much for your hello. Oh, we got more.
Anthony is here with 12 cans of Carling with bubbles in Birmingham.
Love it. Anthony with your 12 cans of lager. Is it lager? Carlsberg.
Carling.
Carling, 12 cans of Carling. Well, I hope you enjoy them, but do pace yourself. I know it's Friday, but do pace yourself. All the way from Birmingham, my home, well, close enough. I'm from Wolverhampton, for those of you who don't know. So welcome, lovely to have you join us. Okay, so Throughout the session, please do keep your comments coming, keep your questions coming. This is your opportunity to tease out as much information as you can from me. So please do ask away, and I will do my best to answer you. And if you are cooking along with me, if at any point you get lost or I'm racing away with myself, whatever it might be, please do just drop a little message and I will either slow down or I can repeat, or whatever I need to do, I will try and help you out. Okay, so today we are making tamarind prawns, or imli jinga. Really nice tangy prawn dish, super easy to make, but it is really tasty, super tasty. And I'm going to show you how to make some puris with it, which are Indian flatbreads. These are fried flatbreads. And for those of you who have the luxury of going to an Indian restaurant, especially in the UK, prawn puri is one of those starter dishes that is on lots and lots of menus. This is similar to that dish in the puri, and it's the tangy prawns, but this is very much sort of my home style take on it. I will sort of tell you how you can make it slightly more restaurant style as we go through. So I'm going to talk you through what I've got going on here. It's really simple, and actually it's a really quick one today, because obviously prawns don't take a long time to cook. So we have got my masala dabba, my spice tin, which I have every week. If you want me to talk through it, just give me a little sort of message and I can talk you through all of this. But it is something that I tend to do every week. But if you are new and you want a bit more information on my spice tin, just give me a shout and I will go through that. I've got some lovely prawns here. I always tend to go for raw prawns if I can. I know a few of you messaged on the app to say that you've got some lovely prawns with heads and shells and all of that, and should they stay on and should they not stay on, and should you get them out. You can cook them with the heads and shells on in this dish if you are happy to get your fingers in and open them up as you're sort of eating. Some people are happy to do that, some people not so much. If you're not happy to do that, just shell them beforehand. And as I said on the app, don't throw those away. You can use them to make a lovely little stock. So I've got my prawns here. I've got a couple of fresh tomatoes. I've got my garlic. I've got an onion. I have 4 chilies. I'm not sure if I'm going to use all 4, but I am planning to. I'll see how I go. I've got some fresh ginger and tomatoes and a little bit of butter for later.
Dion said I need the name of those spices.
You need the name of my spices from my tin. Okay, Charlotte, let's go through it then very quickly. So the red one, Kashmiri chili powder. My chili powder of choice. Beautiful colour, really smoky flavour, but not that powerful in terms of heat. If you can't get hold of this, if you're wanting to get hold of it and can't, just go to my website. We sell this by the bucket load because it is a really amazing chili powder. This one here, if you can see, that is Kasoori Methi or fenugreek. So it's the herb, it's the dried leaf of the herb. We've got this one, which is a brown powder. That's garam masala, iconic spice blend of the north of India. And it has, depending on who you get it from, or mine, this is my version, which is the version I sell on the website as well. 9 different spices go in there, all of varying quantities. Cumin seeds, the most commonly used Indian spice. We'll be using that later. The little tiny dark brown balls in the middle, if you can see them, mustard seeds, black mustard seeds.
Question about mustard seeds. What is the difference between brown mustard seeds and black ones? Is it important to have the correct one in a recipe?
So in Indian dishes, we tend to go for black mustard seeds or brown mustard seeds, predominantly brown mustard seeds. Yellow mustard seeds obviously are much more of a Western ingredient that tends to be used, but brown mustard seeds are what we tend to use in Indian cooking, but you can get away with black ones as well. They have a slightly differing level of harshness. So mustard seeds give you that nose tingling pungency. Yellow mustard seeds, it's really quite potent, and brown ones not so much, and then black ones again. Black and brown are fairly similar, they're just different variety of plant. So in Indian cooking, go for brown or black mustard seeds. Opt for brown if you can. These spices here, oh, I've just put them all over the counter. These are coriander seeds. So if you plant this, you get this growing. Okay, so people quite often ask, can they switch or can they substitute the seed for the herb? Not really. They're very, very different in the aromatics that you get. Spices are all about aromatics and infusing aromas into your dish, and these herbs are very much about that delicacy, and you add them at a different time through the cooking process. The yellow stuff, obviously turmeric, amazing Indian spice, used not just Indian but used in lots of different ways. It's not just about the colour, it does have a flavour, and it can be quite bitter and overpowering if you add too much of it. Does that help? A very quick whistle stop tour of my spice tin, but that's that. Okay. Oh, we've got questions coming in.
Can I use shallots instead of onions?
You certainly can use shallots instead of onions. Shallots are really good to use for seafood style dishes anyway. So fish dishes, prawn dishes, that kind of thing. Shallots are a good option to use for that. So absolutely, if that's what you've got, use those. That's all good. Okay, any more questions? Right. So we're going to get cooking. The first thing we're going to do is just get a little bit of prep done. Onion, nice and finely diced. Chilies, I'm going to dice 2 and I'm going to keep 2 for later on. I've got some garlic, which I'm going to chop up, and some ginger. So first things first, I'm just going to chop my onion. What I tend to do is I keep the beardy bit on at the end and I just cut through it. And just to help, ideally, whenever you're cooking a curry, you want to have your onions as fine as you can, depending on what kind of a dish you're doing. But ideally, you want them all to be the same size. Quite often, when I'm doing this in my classes, some people cut great big chunky bits and then tiny little bits. They're going to cook at different rates. So ideally, you want all your onions as finely chopped as you possibly can get them. And the easiest way to do that is by keeping the moustache end on and then just slicing through like I've done, but it's still joined at the end. And then with your knife and your hand behind your knife, just chop up as finely as you can. And that will give you, if I can show you, tiny little bits of onion, which are perfect for your curry.
Someone said they're still peeling their shrimp, so don't feel rushed.
Okay, so you carry on peeling your shrimps if that's what you're doing.
Someone said, Harry, where's your base gravy?
Did somebody just ask where my base gravy is?
I thought it was a joke, but then they've said, you missed my question, so I don't think it is a joke.
So, who's the question by? The onions are getting into my eyes now.
Their username is Small Brown.
Hello, Small Brown Fox. So, your question about base gravy. Base gravy isn't a thing. Base gravy is a thing in the BIR world, in the world of restaurants, and that's how they are able to create so many dishes, because they have this base gravy. All the cooking that I do is very much centered around how we cook at home. There is no such thing as a base gravy. We don't have it. We don't create it. What we do is we have masalas. So masala is that blend of onions, ginger, garlic, chilies, whatever it might be for whichever dish. Every single dish starts differently. So there is no such thing as a base gravy at home. If you are working in the restaurant world, that's a completely different thing. And if you're trying to replicate dishes or dishes that you have in a restaurant, that's potentially where the BIR base gravy comes in, but it's not something that I do in my kitchen. Does that help? If you've got any more questions, I'm happy to answer. Back to my onion. So the easiest way to do it is, as I've told you. Now, when you get to a certain point like this, the onion becomes a little bit unstable. So all you do is you just plop it over and then you carry on cutting. And that way you will use all of your onion. When you get to this stage, you just slide through the sides. And then you do this same on this side and go through again. And then what you end up with is that little bit that you can throw away. Does that help? Okay, so whilst I do the other one, I'm going to get my pan ready. Into my pan, I'm going to put a little bit of vegetable oil. And then into that, a teaspoon of cumin seeds. So cumin seeds are, as I said, probably the most commonly used. I'm crying because of the onions. Most commonly used Indian spice. We are going to add a teaspoon of these in. We're going to pop them into the oil. And as I always say, whenever you are toasting spices at the beginning of the cooking process, you always, most of the time, will use whole spices, so spices in their natural state. And the reason that you do that is that you want them to release the natural oils that sit within them. So as soon as you can smell them, as soon as they release those oils, you're ready to go in with your next ingredient, which is going to be the onions and the garlic. So I'm going to pop in a nice heaped spoon of cumin seeds. Don't worry if you're still prepping your prawns, it's fine. I'm just going to grab a tissue because I'm crying. Oh, very emotional. Pop that over there. Okay, so as soon as they become aromatic, as soon as those spices become aromatic and they sizzle, you know you're ready to go in with your next ingredient. So that's where I am at the moment. I'm just going to prep my other onion. If you are still quite far behind, please let me know and I can just slow down and just chat for a while. More than happy to do that. I want you to be with me and not be stressed out. Okay, I can just sit and have a little drink with you on a Friday, which is what Fridays are all about. Okay. Right, there we go. So I hope, well, those of you who are in the UK, I know there's a lot of you who aren't. I hope you've had an amazing week. We have had the most incredible weather this week. It's been absolutely glorious. Up until yesterday, where we had torrential downpours of rain, flooding, craziness. But it's been an absolutely beautiful week. So I have been sunning myself, which is one of my favourite things to do. Right, go on. No, carry on. If I've got a question. So I'm starting to get the aroma of those cumin seeds coming through, and what I don't want to happen is for my spices to burn. Now, if you get to a stage where you know your spices are burnt, and you'll be able to tell very quickly if your spices are burnt. If you've burnt them, get rid of them and start again. You're right at the beginning of the cooking process. The best thing to do is just get rid of them, start again, because they can make your dish very bitter if they're quite burnt. So I'm happy with my cumin seeds, so I'm going to pop in my onions. And I'm going to give that all a stir together. Now what I've done and what I tend to do is when I first put my onions into the pan, I have my heat quite high. The reason I do that is that I want to get a lot of heat to it because I want all of the moisture that's in the onions to evaporate. So I have it on a very high heat just to begin with. And then I will turn that down in a minute. But before I do that, so I'm just going to turn that down. I'm going to start to prep my garlic. So I'm using 4 cloves of garlic here. I love my prawn dishes really garlicky. I'm sure a lot of other people do as well. So I'm just going to chop up my garlic. Now, again, it's up to you. I'm going to chop up my garlic nice and finely because I want it to go into the sauce, into the masala, rather than having chunky pieces.
Can you show what's inside the pan?
Yeah, I can show you my pan. Give me 1 second. So all I've got in my pan, my onions and my cumin seeds, just sauteing them off. I put about a tablespoon of just vegetable oil. Rapeseed oil is my oil of choice. Just put that in. So that's like at the moment. Everyone happy?
What was the first dish you ever mastered?
What was the first dish I ever mastered? Now that is a very interesting question. I think the first dish that you say mastered, I don't know if that's the same. The first dish that my mum made me learn how to cook was a chicken curry dish, which is my tariwala chicken. Very much a Punjabi style dish. And it's usually one of the dishes that I say to people who are starting their Indian food journey. I say, go on, start with that one, because it's a great curry. It's really simple in terms of there's very little in the way of spices, and it's very much a home style dish. So tariwala chicken and tariwali lamb was probably my starting dish. First dish that I mastered. That's a different question, isn't it? Don't know. I just feel like I'm always still learning and still trying to do stuff and come up with new concepts. Maybe it was Malabar prawns, maybe, if I'm going to, because that's, for me, was a very different style of cooking, much more sort of South Indian in its flavours. So that was a dish that I worked and learned to cook with one of the chefs from one of the restaurants I was working in, and he really taught me why and how we did that dish the way that we do it. So maybe that one. I hope that helps.
Lois in Michigan said hers was butter chicken.
Butter chicken. Butter chicken.
Isabella's asked, can I micrograte my garlic?
So the question is, can you micro grate it? Absolutely you can. There's no reason why not. I've got one here, which I'm going to use for my ginger. The only reason I don't grate garlic is that it makes your fingers stink. So I just tend not to, which is why I prefer doing it like this, and it just means you don't get the juice on your fingers.
Maria has asked, can you tell us about the chicken option with the sauce? Should it be thighs cut into cubes or bone in?
So if you want to do a chicken version of this, you can do it in a number of different ways. You can absolutely take it off the bone. If you've got thigh fillets absolutely fine. Take the skin off and just dice them, sort of trim any excess fat off, dice those up and have them just ready to go in. You can also do this with thigh meat or leg meat that's on the bone. It's just going to take a little bit longer to cook, but it's absolutely fine to do that. And in some ways, I think it's
microphone. Another client streaming.
Yeah, so just click on the control bar down the bottom.
Now. Hello.
Right, so press the red button.
Yeah, I did. It says streamers live.
Right, so you should be live.
Yeah. Oh, I think we're back.
Are we back?
Yeah, we're back.
We're back. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Please let me know. I think I'm losing the will to live. This is so stressful.
Yeah, we're back.
I'm very sorry about that little hiccup. But I think we're back. And we're all good. Still smiling. Okay, let's get back to where we were. So, for those of you who understood my miming as we were going on, in the pan, I put in, to begin with, and you were with me when we did this, so a tablespoon of vegetable oil, rapeseed oil, anything like that. I then put in a teaspoon of cumin seeds. As soon as they became aromatic, I then added a really nicely finely diced onion. So that went in. And then I have put in nicely chopped 4 cloves of garlic, and I popped those in whilst we were on mute and silent because I just wanted to get them in. So are you all with me and at the same point, or are you still way behind?
People are saying they've got nice colour on their onions and stuff. So
excellent. Okay, so that's good. So my onions are looking nice and golden too. I'm just going to very quickly show you. But before I do anything else, I'm going to go on and talk about my tamarind. So this dish is very much about tamarind. So those of you who know what tamarind is a fruit of a tree that is native to India. And the fruit grows almost in pods, and they sort of hang off the tree, and they look like these little pods on this bit of packaging, if you can see, little brown pods, and they just hang down. And then the tamarind that we use, so you can get tamarind in a number of different forms. So you can get it as a dry block like this, so that is just the pulp from that fruit smashed up with the moisture, a lot of the moisture removed, and it's just that solid block. You can also get tamarind in paste form, so in jars. You can also get it in a concentrate form as well. Now, when it comes to tamarind, so we tend to use tamarind in dishes like this where you want a little bit of zing, but it's a bit fruity. It's not the same as lemon juice. Lemon juice is a little bit more harsh, it's a bit stronger. This has got a real lovely fruitiness to it as well. And the only way that I can really describe it is almost like Haribo's, those tangy sweets that get you right there and make you salivate. That's the sort of flavour that it gives you. When I buy tamarind, I tend to buy it in a block form like this, a dried block form, because it keeps for ages, and I just think the flavour that you get is really, really nice. Some of the pastes are really good as well.
Should the tamarind be refrigerated?
So it depends on what you've got. So if it's a block like this, generally you don't have to, but it is, you can stick it in the fridge. It's absolutely fine to do that. If it's a jar, once you open it, you need to pop it into the fridge. One thing I will say about tamarind is whatever form you buy it in, do have a little taste of it. So if you've got a jar of it, just get a little spoon, just taste it, because of the way that it's produced, whether it be in a jar, whether it be like this, it can vary quite significantly on how tart and how tangy it actually is. So do have a little taste of it. The only one thing that I would say is You can buy the concentrates. I would steer away from buying the concentrates because the concentrates are really quite potent and they're also really dark in colour. And if you use that in a dish like this, it just spoils the look of the dish because it just makes it very, very dark. So taste it. That's the only way you're going to know how much tang it's going to add to your dish. So people will always ask me, how much do I need? So usually my recommendation is if you've got a jar of paste, a tablespoon is probably enough, but do taste it first. And also some people like things a little bit more tangy, so you might want to add a little bit more. When you've got a block like this, the way that we use it is you just take off a little bit. So I've got some here, so I've got that much there, and into that you just add boiling water. Not loads, but just enough to sort of cover it. So I've just put that much water in. And then all I tend to do is just get my fork and just give it a little bash and let it start. It won't dissolve, but what happens is it starts to release some of the gooey bits.
Interesting question from Rosemary. She said, "Hi Harry, so looking forward to cooking with you. Do you have a list of basic ingredients we need for Indian food?"
Absolutely, yes we do. So hello Rosemary, thank you for joining me, welcome. I do have a list of certain things that I think are really important when you, if you're starting that journey. And what I might do is there, if you can make a note of that, I will put a list together, because I can tell you now, but I will put a list together and I will post that in the app. If you haven't got the app yet, just download the app and I will just pop it on there and just say these are the things that I think are a really good place to start when you're cooking Indian dishes. If you haven't got the app, just go to your app store on your phone and just search Harry Ghotra and you'll find me, and I will put that on there if I remember straight after this, and I'll just do it as a post from me. Okay, so looking at that tamarind, so you see how that water starts to get nice and brown. Can you see? Oh, hang on, there we go. So that is all the flavour coming through. So ideally, whenever you're cooking a dish like this, if you're using a block, just get your tamarind into a bowl with hot water for as long as you possibly can. The longer you leave it, the more flavour and tang will come out. So let that just sit there for a little while. Okay, everyone with me on the tamarind front? Any questions about tamarind before we move back to our dish? Need a drink. Any more questions? Right, so my onions and garlic are looking like that. So when we've cooked together before, one of the things that I've always said is whenever you're cooking an Indian dish, it's really important that you cook your onions to the right level of brownness for that dish. Now, when we've cooked meat dishes before, we've taken out onions till they're really, really dark. This is a prawn dish, so this is a seafood dish, so it needs to be slightly lighter. So we're not going to take our onions down to that really, really dark colour that we would do if this was, for example, a lamb dish.
Does tamarind come from different countries? If so, do you have a preference?
So tamarind, you can get it from different countries. Most of the tamarind, if I am correct, does come from India, just because it's native to India. So that's where I tend to get my, so I tend to, certain brands like KTC, TRS, those guys, they're sort of Indian brands that I tend to use for tamarind.
Anita says, I brought kokum home from India. Is this the same thing as tamarind to give the same flavour?
I was actually going to talk about kokum as well. So kokum it gives a very similar tangy flavour, but it's much more of a South Indian dish. So you tend to use that in a lot of South Indian dishes. If you've got it, and you haven't got tamarind, then absolutely you can use it. that with kokum you can chop it up nice and finely. You can either do it the way that we've done the tamarind, or you can actually add it to your dish as well. It is a very similar ingredient. I have got some, but I haven't got it out ready for you to show, but it looks very, very similar, but it's a different, I think it's a different, it's not obviously tamarind, it's a different plant, but I think it's actually processed in a slightly different way as well. But yeah, very much South Indian dish, used for the same sort of purposes.
Maria said, so if we have time, the best way is to soak a part of block in cold water, and if we're in a hurry, then soak in boiling water.
I would just always do it in boiling water. It just happens more quickly. I don't know if I've said. Ideally, boiling water in there, and you can just leave it for as long as time as you've got. So you don't need to worry too much about hot or cold. Okay, so I've chopped up 2 chilies, which I'm going to be adding in a moment, and I'm also going to just grate a little bit of ginger as well. Right, how are we doing? So guys, if you are cooking with me, how are we doing? Have we got to a stage where you're happy with your onions? Have your prawns been peeled now? Let me know so that I can either move on or hold fire. So I'm just going to take that off. So all I've done there is I've grated some ginger. So I've got my ginger there, and I have got my lovely green chilies, which I have just popped to the side. Right, okay, are we good to go? So all I'm going to do into my nice and golden brown onions, I'm going to add some tomatoes. So I've got here a whole tin of tomatoes, so this is about 400 grams. I'm not going to put the whole lot in, I'm only going to put in half, but I'm just cutting up my, did I say onions? I meant tomatoes. I'm just cutting up my tomatoes.
Are Thai chilies the same as what you're chopping?
So Thai chilies, for Indian cooking, we tend to use these, which are rocket chilies, or these ones, rocket chilies, or the closest chili to them is a serrano chili. So they're long, thin, green chilies. If you can't get them, then yes, a good alternative is a Thai chili, but some Thai chilies will be much hotter, so just be a little bit careful. If you are subbing for a Thai chili, then just reduce the amount that you use. You can always add more later, but if you make something too hot, it's then much more difficult to tone it down than it is to add more if it's not as hot.
How much tamarind paste did you use?
So I used, to get my tamarind here, I used probably about a block that was 5 centimetres by 5 centimetres. You don't need a lot, and that's still sort of in there. If you have got a paste that you've already made, that you bought, then a tablespoon of that. We haven't used it yet, I'm just getting it all ready, so I've just popped it in there.
Someone's asked, do you have a garden?
I do have a garden. I do have a garden, and we have lots of herbs and bits and pieces in the garden. I do love a good garden. Yes, I do. Thank you. Do you have a garden? Do let me know. Okay, so I'm going to put half my tomatoes into my nice golden onions. So that goes in. I'm not going to put them all in. Now, one of the things that a restaurant will do when they are doing this kind of a dish is, rather than using, and it is just for this kind of dish, they will either use some tomatoes and some tomato puree, just because they want a nice thick sauce on this. What I tend to do is I just use tomatoes and let it reduce down, and then you get the same result really. So I've got, and obviously not put a lot of tomatoes in. Actually, if you're cooking a chicken dish, which I know some of you are, then you can use the whole tin of tomatoes, the whole 400 grams. You can put more in, because obviously you've got a bigger volume of chicken going in, so you can do that. That's not a problem. So the tomatoes have gone in. Into that I'm going to add my chopped chilies and my ginger. we go. And then the spices go in. So, spice-wise, we are going in with some turmeric. We're going in with a little bit of chili powder. So, 1/2 to 1 teaspoon of turmeric. And then I'm just going to put 1/2 a teaspoon of chili powder in. Just a little touch more. And then I'm also going to add some salt. So I've just got some mulled and sea salt here. I'm just going to add some of that. There you go. And then we'll give that a nice little stir just to bring all of that together. Now, ideally what we want is for our tomatoes and our onions and the garlic and ginger that's gone in there to all melt together to create a really lovely thick paste. So that is going to go in there. I'm going to turn that up because it's cooled right down just to warm that up. And that is looking and smelling amazing. So this is what it should look like. Can you see? Hang on, it's all coming to the bottom. There we go. We'll pop these pictures on Instagram so you'll be able to see later. Okay, so that's doing what it needs to do. Is everybody still happy? Still happy? Let me know if you've got any questions, if you want me to slow down, if you need me to speed up. I'm all here. I'm all here for you to do what we need to do. Okay, so the tamarind is almost ready as well. Now with the tamarind, what I'm going to do, and it's quite important that you realise, so tamarind is very, very fibrous. So if I just take a little bit out. So it's quite pulpy, but also you've got quite a lot of fibres in there. And you'll get great big chunky bits of stone in there as well. So this bit is not very nice to eat. So what we tend to do is when we make a paste like this, we're then going to sieve through the nice juicy bits and hold back on the sort of fibrous bits that aren't very nice. I'm going to have a little taste.
Dean said, I love the pan, where's it from?
Hi Dean, is it Dean? Hello Dean, welcome. This is just a Maya pan, chef's pan. I always say a good chef's pan is an amazing bit of kit to have in any kitchen, so do invest in a really good chef's pan. You can do all kinds of stuff and it's great for rice, it's great for sort of dishes like this. Really, really lovely and easy to cook with. So always a good purchase. Okay, so into there, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour it straight in. If you've obviously got paste in a jar, you don't need to sieve it because it's already been done for you. But I'm going to pour this in and then I'll show you what gets left over. So just with my fork, I'm just going to push that through. So cooking is very much, for me anyway, and a lot of the reason why I do the teaching bit and I do the live cook-alongs is really just to show people that there's, you know, give them encouragement and hopefully get you to try new ingredients out and give you the confidence to be able to use some of the stuff that you'll see and then you'll think, oh, I don't really know what to do with that. And that's why my curry kits as well, that's exactly what I try to do with those. So this is what you'll get left over in there. I don't know if you can see. So it's really fibrous. It's all quite gunky, technical term again. But what you can do with that, and this is the beauty of tamarind, is that it keeps giving. So you can just put a little bit more water in. You don't want to put loads in there, and you just do it again, and you'll get more flavour coming from it. So I'm just going to let that sit for a minute while I give this one a stir.
Where do you get your tamarind block from?
So I tend to get my tamarind from my local Indian store. just an Indian grocery store. Some supermarkets, it really depends where in the world you are. Do we know where the question is coming from? So Indian grocery stores will have them. You can buy them in some supermarkets. So it really depends on where you live and what your sort of local shops are like. So I mean, I find it quite easy where I am, but I know there's a lot of people who do struggle with some of the ingredients. If you really struggle, then Amazon is always a good place to try. If not, if you Google.
Oh, she's in Dorking.
Oh, then if you're in Dorking, Crawley is great. There's some really good Indian shops in Crawley. If you are in Red Hill, there's a few really good shops in Red Hill, but Crawley's probably your easiest bet. There's some really good shops, and if you want to message me, I can tell you where they are later. So just drop me a message or an email or whatever, and I will be more than happy to help.
Someone said they lost internet. Can you just go over where they've got what you've done? They've just added the tinned tomatoes to browned onions.
Okay, so I'm just going to do a very quick recap because we've had a few internet issues. I know I've had a few technical issues. Okay, so all I've done so far is into the pan. I'm going to start from the beginning. So a little bit of oil, cumin seeds went in. As soon as they became aromatic, we added a really finely diced onion with some garlic. Once that starts to get a little bit of colour on there, we then go in with tomatoes, about 200 grams of, so half a tin of tomatoes goes in there, and then into that we added just under a teaspoon of turmeric, half a teaspoon of chilli powder, and some grated ginger, and 2 finely chopped green chilies. And that's all that's gone in there. And then we added the tamarind paste. So if you've got paste, you add your tamarind in now, and a little bit of salt as well. And what we want to happen is we want all of this to come together so that you've got a really lovely thick paste. So the tomatoes have broken down, the acidity in the tomatoes is gone. You've got the zinginess from the tamarind going in, and that's all going to come together, and it's just going to be delicious. Once you've got to that stage where you've got pretty much a paste, if you've got your chicken, that goes in, your prawns go in, and then we just let those cook. Obviously, different timings for the different ingredients that go in.
What temperature is your pan at now?
So my pan is on quite a low heat because all I'm doing is driving off the moisture, and I'm just bringing all of that together. So it's on actually the lowest temperature that it can get to. Whilst that's cooking...
Can you show the pan?
Yeah, I can certainly show you my pan. So it's really starting to come together, and you're starting to get a really lovely thick tomato paste. Okay, so that's coming together. I don't want to add my prawns just yet. I'm going to get my tomato ready. So I'm going to add some fresh tomato and some fresh sliced chilies as well once the prawns are done, just to go in right at the end with the garam masala, just for a little bit more of a oomph. So
Patrick said, he's from Halifax, he said, I used your masala double for the 3rd time. What a difference. I bought spices before separately at a local shop, but yours is no comparison. Highly recommend.
Oh, amazing. Hello, Patrick. Welcome. That's so lovely to hear. I'm really, really pleased. So lovely to know that you're enjoying your masala dabba. I hope it makes you feel really professional in the kitchen. But the fact that you're loving the spices that come in that tin and so on, and it's made a difference to your cooking, I'm all over that. That's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. It's really nice. Nice to know. Oh, I'm thrilled. You've made my cook along. Thank you, Patrick. Okay, so I'm just chopping up this chilli because I'm going to add that in here.
Can you just move that tomato out the way? Look.
I'm going to chop this tomato up as well. So
okay.
with this tomato, nice and fine. So this is a very overripe tomato, just use what you have. And this is going to go in right at the end of the cooking, just to add a little bit of texture, but also to add a little bit of oomph to.
Shika has just joined the stream, but have you marinated the prawns in anything?
No, I haven't, but you can. If you want to marinate the prawns, you absolutely can. You can marinate them in a little bit of turmeric, just literally a sprinkling of that, and it's something that's done in a lot of Indian kitchens all the time. I always thought, and I've probably mentioned this before, I've always thought it was for flavour. It's not really, it's really for its antibacterial properties and so on. So it's just a sort of layover from what used to happen in the early days. Okay, so no, I haven't, but you can if you want to. I'm going to get all of my flavour, my zingy from the masala that it's going into. So I've got a tomato here, I've got a nicely diced sliced chilli. If you want to, you can use 2 chilies, you don't have to just use 1. I'm just going to stick to 1 because I've got 2 in there already. Okay, now if you have got your masala going and it's starting to come together, I urge you to just get a little spoon, just have a little taste, and it should have a real oomph to it. That's what makes this so special. It's got that zinginess, but it's got a real nice oomph to it. So if you are happy with your masala and it's nice and dry and thick, then you can put your, if you're cooking chicken, you can put your chicken in. If you've got chickpeas on the go, you can pop those in. Just drain them and put them in. If you've got prawns, you can put them in now. Depends on when you're going to eat this dish. If you are planning to eat it a little bit later on, then I would urge you to probably just put your prawns in just before you're going to eat them, because that's when, you know, you don't want to then reheat them, because prawns are best straight in, take a few minutes to cook, and then it's done. For those of you who are planning on doing that, I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to add my prawns. So my tomato sauce looks like this now, nice and thick, and it's all come together. It's really zingy. It's got that lovely flavour in there that I'm looking for. So I'm going to pop my prawns in. And as I said before, prawns don't take very much cooking. They're going to go in. You don't have to do this right now if you are planning to eat your dish a little bit later on this evening. Your masala's done. The prawn bit will take minutes to do. If you're cooking chicken though, you can pop that in, because that's fine.
Margaret said, hi, the pic on the recipe says looks like there are mustard seeds. Do you need to add mustard seeds?
No, not in this one. I have the picture. I know what you mean, but they're not. I think that it's actually cumin seeds on there, but this doesn't have mustard seeds in it. There is another. I've got a couple of prawn dishes, but no, this one doesn't have it in there. So the prawns go in. We're going to coat them. Look at that. It's not going to take much. And then once you've coated them and they're starting to cook, then your tomatoes and your chilli can go in as well. And I'm just going to give that a little bit of a stir through. And then I'm going to turn that off, and we're going to turn our attention to our puris, and we'll come back to this in a minute. But as I said, if you are eating this later, don't worry about this bit. This is what you need to do just before you eat your meal. I don't want you to have to do this and then you reheat it and you're like, oh, that wasn't very good because the prawns weren't great. I want you to enjoy it just as you're going to have it for your dinner. So I just wanted to show you what it's going to look like now. This isn't going to take much cooking, but if you look at that, it's really hearty, it's really, really beautiful.
Stuart's asked, what is the difference between the tamarind paste and concentrate? Do you water down the concentrate?
So the difference between the concentrate is a tamarind concentrate. It's much more intense, and you can water it down. And I've said this before, I'm just not a fan of the concentrate. It's just too overpowering. I used it many years ago, and do you know what? It's probably improved since then, but I can remember using it many years ago, and it just totally ruined my dish because it just made it look so black and so dark, and I just lost all of that vibrancy and so on. So it just sort of put me off. And the only way that I tend to use tamarind now is in the block form. Some of the pastes you can get are great. So I'm a bit of a anti-concentrate, tamarind concentrate person. Okay, so that's my prawn dish done. I'm just going to finish it off right at the end, but I'm going to move that to one side as we focus on our puris. Okay, is everybody with me? Are we all happy? I'm going to have a little clear down whilst I move these bits and pieces round. You can ask away if you've got any questions now. Is everybody okay in terms of where we are with the dish?
Yep, waiting for sauce to thicken.
Lovely.
Someone said, I made your tandoori chicken from last week and it was incredible. Super excited to make this as well.
Yay! I love that tandoori chicken. I'm with you on that. I'm just going to have a little clear down and a wipe down here. Oh look, I'm lifting up the prawns in the dish. Annoying. Right, I'm just going to wipe this surface down and then we're going to do the fun bit. So how many of you are making puris with me today? I want a show of hands, please. I want to know if you are cooking with me, because puri is a beautiful thing. Okay, so I'm bringing my grey over here and I'm turning that on.
Joni says she's writing all of our recipes in a book. What's the Indian name of our prawn dish this evening?
So it's called imli, I-M-L-E-E, imli, which is tamarind. So that's when you translate it, that word means tamarind. And jinga, J-I-N-G-H-A, jinga. Jinga is prawns, so imli jinga. So there we go. Right, who is ready for the most amazing bread in the world? So we all love puris. For those of you who don't know what a puri is, there are lots and lots of different Indian breads that we have in the Indian world. So we've made rotis before together, we've made parathe, and they're all slightly different. We've made a South Indian burrata together, we've made bhature, naan breads. So they're all slightly different and they sort of vary depending on whether it's a leavened bread or unleavened bread. A puri is basically unleavened, so it's just like making a roti, but rather than making it on your tawa, which is your flat griddle pan, you deep fry it and it's just delicious. And I know there's lots of people who don't agree with deep frying, and I get it, but this isn't something that you're going to eat every day. It's a bread that you will have once in a blue moon, because it is so tasty. So all I'm doing is I've got oil in the pan. This is a karai, and we tend to use this for deep frying. So I'd make my samosas in here. I also make dry vegetable dishes in here, so aloo gobi, that kind of thing, works really well. Obviously you don't deep fry them, but the wok or the pan just lends itself to certain dishes like that. In terms of the dough that you would make for this, I've already made it, but I'm going to talk you through it. So we tend to use atta. Atta is a flour that is a whole grain flour. So it's the whole of the grain is milled. So it's not quite like a whole meal flour. It's almost a halfway house, and there's lots of different varieties of atta that you can get, and again you'll get them from Indian grocery stores. A good alternative if you can't find atta is half whole meal flour and half plain flour, and you mix that together. That will give you a good alternative. With this though, if all you've got is whole meal flour, that's fine, you can use that. It's not that big an issue. So all you do with your flour is a little bit of flour in a bowl. You can put in, if you want to, you don't have to do this, is carom seeds. Now I don't know if many of you know what a carom seed is. It's not a spice that tends to be used a lot in Western cooking, but if you look at my hand, so these are carom seeds. They're tiny, tiny, tiny little seeds, and they're really quite potent in their flavour. They're quite overpowering, but we tend to use these a lot in bread dishes. We'll use them in fish dishes, and they have a very similar flavour to thyme, very, very similar to thyme, but you should only ever use them sparingly. They're really good for, if you have bloated tummy problems, these are really good for that. So you just put about half a teaspoon of those into your flour.
Can you put thyme into that?
You can if you want to, but if you don't have them, then just miss it out. It's not a problem, but you can if you wanted to. A little bit of salt, and then your flour, and then some water, and the same thing like we've made before. Whenever we've done a dough, we put a little bit in, you bring it together, a little bit more water in, and you bring it all together until you've got a really nice, soft, pliable dough, which I sort of have here, but it's been out and it's now got a little bit soft, which is fine. So once you've got that lovely dough, all you want to do is just take a little bit of it, and we're just going to roll it out with our rolling pin, just the way that we have done before. It's a bit sticky today, so let me know. I'm not going to start this until you guys are ready, because I know that some of you will be making your dough as we speak. So if you're doing that, just let me know and I will hold fire. My oil probably isn't hot yet at the minute anyway, so we have a little bit of time. Get it? But if you are ready, then I'm happy to move on. And all I'm going to do is just roll out my dough. How are we doing? Any comments?
Jill says she's a couple of minutes behind.
Jill, I'm all happy to wait for you. That's not a problem. Now, if you are frying, please, 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 as always, as I always say, be super, super careful. You need to be really mindful that you are working with hot oil. Alternatively, if you didn't want to fry your puris, you could just make rotis instead, just on a flat griddle pan or a frying pan, and do them that way. But I do urge you, just have a little try, have a little taste, see what you think. You know, even if you have one and you don't have them for another year, it'll be worth it. So all I'm going to do with my roti, I'm just going to roll it out. I've got quite a bit of dough here. I've gone for a big one. Now what you can do is you can make puris in a number of different ways. So you can either make them big, like this. So when I make a big one, I leave it slightly thicker than I would a roti, because we're going to want these to puff up beautifully. The other thing that you can do is you can roll it out, and if you want to make little mini puris, which again is absolutely fine, all you need to do is just get a little glass or something, a little shot glass, and just twist out little small sort of discs, and then you can just fry those off. So I'll show you how to do little ones and big ones. The first one we'll do is a big one, but I need Gillian to tell me that she's good to go and ready to what's the word? What
rumble.
Word? Ready to rumble. And then we'll get going, but I don't want to sort of leave people behind. So the reason that I'm sort of just mixing this oil around is that I want it all to be the same temperature.
She's good. Jill's ready.
Gillian, you're ready? Lovely. Now you want your oil to be at a temperature where it's going to be warm enough, so as soon as your roti goes in, it goes to the bottom, it starts sizzling and it comes straight to the top. If it's too cold, your roti will just sit at the bottom and it will just absorb fat. If it's too hot, it will just burn on the outside and not puff up. So a really little trick that you can do is just take a tiny, tiny little ball of your dough and just drop it in. And if it sinks and it sizzles and it comes straight back to the top, you're good to go, which is what just happened there. Okay, right, so will you be able to put this over the top of here so that we can show people what it looks like? Right, can we see? There we go. Right, so I'm going to put my puri in very, very gently, always away from you. I did it the wrong way there. Now it'll sizzle. I made that a little bit too big. And then all you want to do is just press it down a little bit. And then turn and press, and you'll see that it starts to puff up just beautifully. Be really, 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 really careful, really gentle whenever you're working with hot oil like this. I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do another one because I'm not happy. So I put it into, there we go. Now ideally you don't want too much colour. Just need to make sure it's cooked, which it is, and then you just drain it and pop it to the side. There we go, and just on some kitchen roll. So I'm going to do that again.
How thick should the dough be?
So your dough needs to be a little bit thicker than it would be for a roti. So for a roti it's usually about 2 millimeters or something. Go for about 4. So it's a little bit fatter. And as you're doing it, I know it's, you know, hopefully you've got other people with you. Take a few pictures, I want to see what they come out looking like. So I'm going to do this one.
Your kid is really professional, TV presenter on the way. What is your oil of choice?
So my oil of choice is rapeseed oil, that's what I tend to use. Right, I'm going to pop this in. There we go, that's better. I wasn't happy with this first. It's always the way, it's like when you make pancakes, the first one's always rubbish, right? So I'm just going to turn that up. Right, this is looking much better. Oh, I think you need to see. I should have left that first one. Right, that's better. So you see how that's puffing up. Sizzles, it puffs up, you turn it over, there we go. And you just press it down just to make sure that's better. Yum. Right. There we go. So that's 2 nice big ones done. And I'm just going to show you, I'm going to leave that on. I'm going to show you how to make a couple of little ones, just because this is a really lovely dish to do as a little canapé startery type thing. You can have it as your main, but you can also have it as a really lovely little canapé, and I'll show you what I mean. So you just roll out your roti the same as you would.
How do you dispose of your used oil?
So what I tend to do is I will keep my oil. If I've cooked anything veggie in my oil, I will keep it. I'll leave it in this pan. It just sits on my stove. And hang on a minute, let's get a little shot glass. And I will reuse it. So I'll reuse this to make samosas, pakore, bhajis, all of that kind of thing. What I tend to do is I will keep the big bottles of oil, the empty ones. So once I've used the oil from a big bottle, I will keep that. And then once this is cool, I will then decant it back into the plastic bottle, and then I'll take that to the dump and dispose of it that way. Never, ever, ever pour your oil down the sink. I suppose the other thing you can do is get it cold, put it into a plastic bag and put it in the bin, but again, I don't like to do that, so I just decant it back into the tubs and take it to the dump.
Someone's brought your 300 curries in Dutch and says it's amazing.
Have you bought the book? Who's that? Who said that?
Ram 19850.
Hello, Ram 19850. You bought the 500 curries book. I love it. Take a picture, share it with me. I want to see it on the app. No one has told me. You are the first person that said that you bought the book. So if you've got it, please, 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 please take some pictures. I can't believe it. That's amazing. Okay.
And then, where did you get your garai?
My garai, my mum gave me this garai when I left home. It's that old. You can get them obviously on Amazon. There's lots of Indian, if you live anywhere near an Indian store, some of them do sell them. If you have problems, drop me an email. I will be able to help you out. Okay, so to make mini puris, just do that. Just take a little, and then you just fry them like that. And then what you can do, look, so pretty. So you can just make little mini ones and just serve them as little canapes. I'm just going to pop that on here. I'll do another one. I'll do a few actually. I'm being quite rough, but that's fine. So you just make little mini rotis, and again, just pop them in. Look, aren't they beautiful? And then just turn them. You don't want too much colour on these, a little bit of colour, but not too much. And then all I do when I'm serving these little puris as canapes, just put one prawn on there, little splodge of sauce, and then you're done.
Can you freeze the leftover dough?
You can freeze the leftover dough. Ideally, I would just recommend that you just make enough that's gonna that you're gonna use that on that one occasion, because freezing it isn't a great. It's not great when it comes out. Ideally, about 200 grams, I reckon, will give you 10 rotis. So you don't need a lot of them. Right, I'm going to make one more just to get you all on side. And then I'm going to serve up, and then I'm just going to finish off the dishes and just to show you how to finish them off. And then I'm going to serve up, and then hopefully
so good.
Later on this evening I am going to be flooded with images of your amazing cooking that you've been doing this evening.
Oh my gosh,
so
that sauce is really
good. In. It's so exciting. Right.
Which one are you doing?
Look at that. I do them both differently. Right. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Okay. Now I assure you.
To ask questions in your app, do you post in community or is there a better spot to do it?
So if you want to ask a question in the app, what you need to do is go to the community section and you just post a question there. What you need to do with the app, if you want to direct it at somebody, so if you want to direct it to me, for example, you need to just put @Harry Ghotra, and you can ask your questions there. You can, what's really, hang on, just wash my hands. What's really lovely about the app is that we've got a great community of people, and some of them have been on this journey with me for a good few years and will know some of the answers. So even before I get there, I know there's some really talented cooks who are happy to share their knowledge with you. So, and you know what, and I trust them implicitly. So they are more than happy to share any information that they might have. So just, you know, hopefully you'll make friends with people on the app as well. I know there's a few of you who know each other, and it's just a really lovely place for
and then someone's asked, can you explain how you're rolling them out?
How I'm rolling the rotis out?
Yeah.
I forgot about that bit. Okay, so the question is, can I explain how I'm rolling the rotis out? That is, yeah, a very good question, and it's fair enough. I sort of seem to have glossed over that because I'm so used to doing it. So when you're rolling out a roti, what you need to do is get a nice ball, and you make it quite compact first of all, so there's no cracks in there, and you just put a little bit of flour on it, and then you just sort of roll it, flatten it in your hand so that you get a nice circle. Using your rolling pin, then you just go forwards and backwards, and what I do is I put slightly more weight on one side and just go forwards and backwards, and hopefully what will happen is that the roti will start to rotate. Now it does take time and it takes practice. I've been doing this for 30 odd years, so I've got the knack. But what happens when you are rolling that way, it means that you get an even roti rather than a roti with fat bits and skinny bits and difficult sort of, you know, if it's uneven, it doesn't cook evenly. But I hope that helps. I have got, if you go to obviously the YouTube channel, there is a video all about rotis and how I make them, and it explains it really well in there. So we'll put the link for that on the chat. It's on the YouTube channel, and it's just how to make, it's just roti. So that will explain it. So I'll put that link on now. Okay, right. I'm not going to keep you for the whole of your Friday evening. What we're going to do now is dish up. So I've got a couple of options here. So I've got this amazing puri. And I've got some little mini puris here, which there were more of, but my daughter's been sat there eating them.
I've been eating one actually.
So all I'm going to do is, just to finish this dish off, I'm going to pop in there a nice big heaped teaspoon of garam masala. And my fresh coriander is going in a moment. Now, how you can serve this is completely and utterly up to you, but generally what tends to happen is it's either served in the puri and then you just break off bits and you scoop it up and you eat it, or it's served as these little mini puris. So I'm going to show you both. So I'm just going to pop, this is probably a little bit too big of a dish, but hey ho, I'm going to show you anyway. Or you just pop it straight in the middle of your puri, like that. Not too much sauce, a little bit, just enough to be able to scoop. There's a little tissue here, just give this a bit of a wipe. And then all you do with this, finish off with your coriander. Now the other thing you can do, which is really lovely with this, is you can get some red onion, thinly sliced red onion, and just sprinkle that on top as well. Not everybody likes raw onion. I love it, so I tend to do that quite a lot. Then what you do with this one is you just get a little prawn and a little bit of sauce.
Do you still use the garam masala recipe that you posted in the blog from 2014, or have you changed it up?
No, that's the one that I still use. That's my garam masala. That's the garam masala that my mum showed me how to make. That's the one that I still use today. So yeah, you can definitely use that. It's a great one to use. Okay, so I tend to do that, and then a little bit of coriander on each one, obviously, a little bit of garnish. If you wanted to, you could put a little squeeze of lemon juice on there as well if you haven't got tamarind, but ideally that tamarind would be enough of that tang. So I'm just going to move these out of the way. So there you go. We have got our prawn puris, which are just yummy, made with imli or tamarind, as we like to call it, just for that lovely zingy flavour. And there's two little different options of how you can, hang on, I'll bring it back. So you've got a whole prawn puri there, and then all you do is you just tear off the sides and you just scoop it up and you just munch it. Or you've got a little dish with a few little canapes, and you can just serve that up, and you can just make loads of these little puris and just keep topping them up. So it's a really lovely way to serve that dish.
Is this recipe on the app?
This recipe is absolutely on the app. All of the recipes that I've done are on the app because I need you to be able to have something to refer to. So it's on the app, it's on the website. It's called Tangy Tamarind Prawns. So just search for it and it's there. So how long have we been on for? An hour and a half, and there you go. We've made our lovely Friday night curry. Tangy tamarind prawns with puris, and I'm going to have a little taste of this just because I can. Oh my god, that's good. I'm done. I'm happy with that. Oh, that's so lovely. I hope you've enjoyed watching. Apologies about the technical difficulties. It might be that we take next week off from doing the live cook along just so that we can readdress some of the issues that have been happening over the last few weeks, and we can come back to you in a better way. But I will obviously communicate that to you on the app. I'll communicate it with you on Instagram as well. So please do keep an eye out on all of my social media channels, because I will keep you updated with what's going on. Also, maybe I just feel like I need a little bit of a break, but we'll see. I hope you've enjoyed it, and as always, I will urge you, please take pictures of the dishes that you cooked. Whether you're doing it tonight, whether you're doing it later on in the week, just take some pictures. Share them with me on the app, share them with me on Instagram, and I will obviously share them out more.
Someone's just said, is your expertise on the app?
My expertise is on the app, absolutely. And it's the best way that you can get in touch with me. So if you have any questions, you just, at Harry Ghotra on the app, in the community section, and I will always answer. I think I'm quite quick at it. If I'm not, there's always other people around that will be able to help as well. But I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for sticking with me through the trauma of the technical difficulties. But I hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have enjoyed it. I will be posting the pictures on Instagram so you can see what we've been doing behind the scenes. Thank you. Have a fantastic weekend, and I look forward to chatting with you